The absence of a sense of direction and purpose, or any sense of belonging for any man, is undoubtedly the most excruciating yet invisible form of torture. Lacking a path to undertake, a challenge to overcome, and a destination to visualize makes us feel extremely close to a bunch of nonsensical entities. And that feeling is never more apparent when we have nothing and when we have lost everything. Normally, when either of these circumstances befall us, we usually react either by panicking, complaining, and running around like headless chickens, or trying to desperately make one thing work when it can't work no more. The most common real-life examples are when you lost your job, when your relationship failed, or when you have neither of them, ever. You either get sad, self-deprecate, self-sedate, and wail your hopelessness away for someone else to come and lift you up, or you try to pig-headedly fix things that already can't be fixed. We all know that human beings live off the sense of structure and routine. And here, you're either trying to desperately find that sense of structure and routine, or you're trying to reclaim that sense of structure and routine. Either way, aimlessness is every man's kryptonite. However, one very obvious thing that we generally don't get to see or even notice, all because we are too preoccupied with this persistence and desperation of trying to get one thing to work or trying to find one aim to reach, is the vast options of path that we are surrounded by when we have no commitment yet. The freedom of choice that we are gifted with through our relinquishment of our prior responsibilities. We are not or no longer bound by any contracts, promises, or obligations to fulfill, as we are free to make our own choices now. Remember that quote, "Preoccupied with a single leaf, you'll miss the entire tree. Preoccupied with a single tree, you'll miss the entire forest." There is always more than one path to the top of the mountain. So don't fixate yourself over just one that you think would work or the one that failed to work. When you don't have a job or never been in a relationship, see every opportunity around you or ahead of you, which means don't fixate over one type of job or one kind of bird. That is when you'll inadvertently restrain yourself into a self-limiting prophecy. See everything and try everything until one starts to work in your favor. And if it doesn't, repeat the process. Similarly, when you've lost your job or when your relationship failed, don't try to reclaim that job that you've already been disavowed and discredited with. And don't try to recapture that bird who have already made a definitive choice to leave your nest in the first place. Again, open your line of vision. See everything. Every opportunity and every path that is presented and available around you. Don't restrict and restrain yourself over a broken structure that was already on the brink of collapse before it eventually did. Rebuild a stronger one with stronger fundamentals instead. Be abundant in your approach. Don't be scarce. Treat your options as open doors, not as inconvenient obstructions. To give you gentlemen a clearer explanation, I'll give you all an example from a recent encounter with a colleague from junior high. The man just recently got laid off, and to add more salt into the wound, 2 weeks before he got laid off, his girl left him because she doubted his future. Obviously, he was devastated. So he asked me the very same question any man would ask anyone if he was in that situation. What am I going to do now? Or what should I do now? And just through asking me that question, I already know that he failed to see the entire forest because he's still fixated on his old job and his old bird. So to open up his vision, I simply asked, "Have you checked online to see if there are any vacancies?" He said, "No, I haven't." Then I asked, "Have you asked any of your relatives, friends, or family members if they have a vacancy, or if any of their colleagues have a vacancy?" He also said, "No, I haven't." And then to get to him to see even more of the paths that has been presented for him, I further asked, "If you're given the choice, what would you like to do instead?" And he finally answered, "Well, if I could, I'd like to go to Australia and try to take up construction, because I heard they pay really well over there, even for immigrants." He finally saw his options, so then I answered, "You said if you could. What makes you think you couldn't?" And this is where he still showcased his self-limiting attitude that restricted him from the freedom that he had. He said, "I don't know, man. If I take up construction work, all my white-collar executive friends, my ex, my family, they all would make fun of me and think of me like a fool." And so I asked back, "Are you obligated to any of them?" He said no. I asked again, "Is this what you really want to go out and try?" He said, "I've been thinking about it from time to time, and to me it seems like a great choice, and if I hadn't had the consulting job, I would have done it instead. Plus I could get away from all the bullshit of what happened, and maybe find a girl there as well." And I answered, "Then what are you waiting for?" He's still just that little bit hesitant and said, "I'm just not 100% sure it'll work. I don't want it all to be a waste." And then I replied for the final time, "When have we ever been 100% sure over anything that we're gonna do? And nothing is a waste if you get something substantial over it. And there you're gonna get paid 10 times more and get to catch spiders. Probably learn an accent. I don't see how that's a waste." And I saw a little twinkle in his eye and a hint of smirk after hearing that, as if his desires had been justified even further. And after about 30 seconds of silence, he simply replied with a very big sigh, as if something heavy has been lifted off of his shoulders, and a bunch of repetitive but highly certain nodding of his head, like he finally made his decision. Okay. Now, I don't know precisely what he's thinking, but from what it looks like, I think he finally let go of his needy grasp over his old job and his ex. And that, I think, is what ultimately gave him the confidence and the reassurance over the choice that he's going to make. When we have nothing, or when we have lost everything, that is when we are free to do anything we want. We must never forget that we have all the rights in the world to choose what is best for us. The only obstruction is that we refuse to acknowledge that there can be way more options outside of those things that we initially think is best for us, for which we isolate ourselves heavily in. Don't ever forget to see the freedom that you have when you're in a position where you don't owe anything to anyone but yourself. See all the opportunity that sits around the tragedy. That is how you turn shit into sugar. Thank you for watching.